Yo, what is up, dudes and lady dudes? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we are showing off Shaddolls again. This is the trap variant again, so like pretty pure variant. But I had wanted to do an update because I felt like my last one kind of needed to be updated. I feel a little more confident with this list than I did before, and it's just updated. Like it's better for this format than it was before. And I think generally better than the one before. Now that I know some things now that I didn't then, which is really cool. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into things. Starting off with the monsters here, we've got our Shaddoll lineup. 3 Squamata, 3 Wendy, 2 Ariel. These are the only ones that I play multiples of. Yeah, I mean, like, they're just so good. These are the best 2 ones to see because if you see them, they get you access to the rest of your engine, which is good, so that just sending them in any way will get you into more cards that you want to see. And then Ariel's just an insane interruption. Also, we do play the Sinister Shatter game, so Squamata has extra utility in the pure version because you're actually getting to flip his effect, not just all the time, but actually on your opponent's turn. To get extra disruption, just literally like a Trident pop, essentially. It's really, really cool. Then for the one-ups, we play 1 Hedgehog, 1 Beast, 1 Dragon, and 1 Falco. This is a pretty standard lineup as far as I know. Falco's a little bit weird. Some people don't play Falco, but I do think in the pure Shaddoll variants, Falco's just really, really, really nice. You just have instances where he really matters, right? And like Wendy, it like summons from deck, but she's a once per turn, so you can only use 1 of her effects. So if you need to help spam more monsters to the board, Falco is there for you in that sense, which is really cool. And then obviously Dragon for back removal and potentially the flip with the Sinister Shadow games if you draw it. Beast just letting you draw cards. You don't want to play too many Beasts because you can't even just set Beast. So he's like kind of the worst one to draw unless you have fusions in hand, then he's totally fine. And then the 1 Hedgehog obviously searches your spells and traps, and yeah, I mean, there's not too much else to go with it. Searches your spell and traps, searches your monsters. It's just good. I mean, just good. Nothing to say there. Which takes us to the only other like actual monster we play, which is 3 copies of Rilliona the Magistus Vare. It's a really cool card. I just got this in the mail. This is like the only card I was waiting on. That in the Artemis to finally finish this deck. She's a really cool normal summon for the deck. So essentially what this card represents is a polymerization plus a light, which is very, very important because what this deck does, if you don't know about Shaddolls, especially this variant, is literally get to construct, you've got to your engine, and you're good to go, right? So that's the whole main goal, is literally just get the construct, which you need a light for. So she is a light. She'll also search you the fusion. So all you need to do is open her and any Shaddoll monster, and you will be good to go as far as getting into construct. The only other thing I would say about this is that I also went back and forth on thinking about Mathematician or playing like 1 or 2 copies of him. The downside with Mathematician is that like this deck has no problem drawing Shaddolls. I mean, I didn't even have to like force myself to play more Shadolls. I just want to play 12 Shadolls because you want all those 1-ofs, you want 3-ofs of the best ones, and so like 12 is like kind of where I ended up naturally. But Mathematician plus a Shaddoll monster isn't like a super easy way into construct. You need to see Mathematician plus a fusion, and we only have a certain number of fusions in the deck. So I'd rather play a card that gets me to the fusion rather than to dump the Shadolls. Because it's just going to help me get to construct way, way, way more consistently, making up for the one part of the deck that you can struggle to draw, which is the fusion cards. So, yep, 3 Rilliona, really, really good, really cool card there. The only other like monsters we play are just hand traps. I'm on 3 Ash, 2 Bell. I just wanted something in the deck to give me like another extra little mid-range game, a way to like go second and still potentially draw something in the hand and to not let our opponent go full ham combo. If you're playing Dinos, both of these are good. If you're playing Drytron, both of these are good. You know, just some of the more like combo-y decks to be able to hit them somewhere so they don't go full combo, because if any deck goes full combo, it can be hard to break, especially for a trap-based deck. So, like those there, which takes us into the spells. Obviously, the 3 Shaddoll Fusion, and I'm on 2 El Shaddoll Fusion right now. I'm really thinking about dropping this to 1. I don't know. It's like it's a weird little like back and forth with Schism, right? You either play like the ratios are either right now. You either play like 3 L. It's like you go back and forth between 3, 2, and 1 of L. Some people like 3, some people like 2, some people like 1. Some people, and then some people play 1 or 2 Schism. Some people play 2 because like people are just like playing Cosmic Cyclone a lot right now, so it lets one of them get Cosmic Cycloned and you still have a way to get into the other one. But I don't know, to me, if it gets Cosmic Cyclone, you don't automatically lose the duel. Yes, it's impactful. Yes, it's very strong. But you don't auto lose the duel. The deck still just gets so many resources so easily that, like, yes, it's a very strong interaction, but it doesn't auto lose you the duel. So for right now, and also because I only have 1 Schism, and since I got it at like $6, it has now gone up to like, isn't it like almost $20? I don't know what it's actually at, but I saw it was like at 18 at some point, I think, and that's crazy. So I only have 1. If I had a second one, I'd consider it, but for right now, I'm on 3, 2, and then 1 of the Schism. We'll get to that later. But insanely strong. If this resolves, like, it's hard to lose those duels because you just get so much advantage off this card if you resolve it for its like insane effect. Then for the Magistus cards, these are the cards you can search off of there. I play 1 copy of Invocation and 1 copy of Vritra. Love that word. So this is just a fusion. It literally says summon like I think it just says any blah 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 any. Okay, here we go. I just want to make sure I have this straight. You can summon any fusion monster that requires a or not requires, but that you use a spellcaster to make. Right? Just want to make sure. Yeah, so you just literally are fusion summoning from hand or field, but you just need 1 of those materials to be spellcaster, and that's all it takes. And it's just searchable. So just a 1 of, you don't need more than 1. I get it. You could potentially search 1, make a fusion play, draw into another Vare, or just have 1 in hand and then want to get a second one. But that's why we have Vritra as a secondary search target. This card's literally just a monster reborn for a Magistus card, or Magistus monster. So, yeah, I mean, you just like you use this to search, you use a Riliona to search this, you link her off, and then you reborn her. So we have a couple links in the deck, so this can just help us like link climb into stuff like Boral Sword and stuff just to go for game if need be. But yeah, cool cards. Either way, they both come up all the time. Not upset about it. And then the one Called by the Grave. Yeah. It's mainly like for stuff like Shaddol Fusion. Like if you Shaddol Fusion, opponent has Ash, I really want that Shaddol Fusion to resolve, so Called by the Grave is insane there. And then just generically, I keep telling people this, like, you don't play Shaddol, like, you can play Called by the Grave in decks that aren't even that weak to hand traps, because this card just hits like everything. This hits Golden Lords in Grave, hits any deck that has graveyard synergy with like their monsters and stuff. The Shaddol Mirror Match is insane in like anything. So don't be afraid to play this card because it's just so versatile. And that is it for the spells. Yeah, I mean, pretty self-explanatory there. And then getting into the traps, we've got 3 copies of Sinister Shadow Games. This card's insane. I love this card. I want to get the hollow ones for sure. But it's just really good. I mean, it dumps a Shaddol, which is going to get you access to your engine. Or you could dump something like Ariel to just like foolish, or a DD Crow, like 3 cards in your opponent's grave, which is insane. Or you can just dump something that gets access to your engine, while also potentially flipping one of your set Shaddolls face up, which you do all the time. We only play 3 actual normal summons in the Rilionas, so if you're not drawing those, you're probably setting a Shaddol monster. So yeah, really good there. Then a couple 2-ups, 2 Torrential Tribute, 2 Dogmatic of Punishment, and 2 Paleozoic Deinonymiscus. So because I'm playing 40 cards, I'm kind of just going with the 2-2-2 route. They're all cool. They're all great in their own right. I just like having the versatility here, whereas Torrential Tribute definitely has the highest ceiling of all of them. I like Punishment because Punishment can dump stuff like App Cologne, which can then get you access to your engine. So I like this. It's going to be a disruption that also gets you in your engine, which is crazy. Or it can just pop 2 cards, which is also insane. And then you have like Deinonymiscus. This is just a non-destruction way to remove stuff. 100%. If you have Ice Dragon's Prison, play it here. This is just a slightly more budget variant. I just don't have Ice Dragon's Prison because it's been at like $40 as of late. So yeah, that explains that. But also I just like it because it triggers. It can come back as a body later on, and it triggers your Shaddol monsters when you discard them from your hand by effect. Same thing with Tribute. Just keep in mind, Tribute triggers all your Shaddolls when you clear the whole board, which is crazy. So you take away everything from your opponent. They probably don't float, and then like every card you destroyed of your own floats. So you get resources back. They don't. You win. Cool. I also threw one copy of Trap-SHADDOLLS in here. It's just a cool tech card because, like I showed you, Sinister Shadow Games, 2 Torrential Tribute, 2 Punishment, 2 Dynamiscus. This is a way to essentially play 3 of all those traps. I just went through that. I'm playing it 2 by only playing 1 extra copy of this card. I get it. Some people don't like this card, but only at 1, you're not going to see it that often, and it just has a lot of versatility with what kind of disruptions you can go into off of it. So I like it. And I just love the card in general. And then coming up here, we just have our last 2 cards here, our 2 traps. 1 Shaddoll Schism, 1 Shaddoll Incarnation. They're both good in their own right. I really like this card, dumping it, or even just saving it just to reborn a Shaddoll and then having it engrave is really good, honestly, once you get past turn 1. And then Schism. Schism's insane. Like, I totally understand people who want to play it at 2 just because Cosmic is everywhere in the format. I get that. But still, I mean, like, some people play this card like relying on this card so much. I don't like to rely on it so much, but I understand why you would. It's really strong. I just don't like to make a play where I'm like, I just don't like making plays where I'm like, if my opponent has Cosmic, I'm just like, I have no disruption, and they just play straight through, and they'll probably either kill me or set up a board I'm not going to be able to break. So I try not to play that way if I can. Try not to just lose to Cosmic. But the deck, I mean, the card's so strong. When it resolves, you win. So yeah, play it. Sorry if it's expensive now and you want to pick up the deck. But honestly, because of the structure deck, the Shaddoll core is so cheap that literally the only expensive card like in the deck would be that. Or if you're trying to get Ice Dragon's Prison, that. But that is it for the main. 40 cards in the main. I know it's not cool and edgy like the 55 card build or 50 card build I had before, but I think this is just a little more consistent, a little more concise, and just better overall. It's gonna get you more wins just based off of consistency and reliability with seeing stuff like Riliona now. So I like the build a lot. Moving on to the extra deck, though, we'll start off with the Shaddoll Fusions. 3 Construct. I don't think this is debatable. This is a slower version of the deck. You're not as good at killing, so you do need to go, like, rotate resources, summon Construct, summon Construct, summon Construct. And so definitely in grindier matches, you do need the 3 Construct for sure. 2 Winda. This is pretty standard. If the first one gets outed, a lot of times summoning a second one is just going to be the game. There's no, like, there's not a lot of coming back from double Winda. Double at Cologne. I almost would consider playing 3 of this. If I had a third one, I might honestly drop a card for it. The next card I'll show you. Just because you're like dumping this off of Dogmatica Punishment a lot of the time just to get the search and dump. Because it's just so good. It's like pop a card and get access to your engine just by playing App Cologne. So sometimes I want one or 2 to have in deck to make, or an extra deck to make, while the other one is like dump fodder. So I would definitely consider the 3rd in this list for sure. I just don't have the 3rd right now. 1 Iwas. This would probably be the card I would drop for the 3rd, but it's a cool card. You can make it in the deck just off of your Magistus Invocation. So you essentially have 4 copies of a card that can search this. It's a cool disruption, and then all the Shaddolls are spellcasters. So just keep that in mind. It's just a cool card, honestly. It's technically an out to certain stuff. Like this deck doesn't have a ton of like removal via the Shaddol stuff. So this is like a cool way to like get into a fusion that's like actually removal. Whereas this card's a negate, this card's a floodgate. This card's like actual removal of something, which is pretty cool to be able to steal your opponent's stuff. So that is it for the fusions. Oh wait, oh no, and Intis. Don't need to explain this. This is just Dogmatic Punishment. If you want to pop 2 cards, you send this. If you want to pop 1 card and get a search, you send the App Cologne. Nothing too crazy there. And if you want to add back, you could also send Construct as well to just add something back from grave. So very, very good. Then for the links, 1 copy of Enemy or Gravity Controller, not Enemy Controller. This card's really good. Essentially, you just use it because sometimes you make Construct in the extra monster zone to dump something, and then you immediately link it off for him so that she can add back the thing that you dumped and then go to town, right? Continue from there. So really good there. And then the 1 Artemis, she's really good because sometimes you just have a Shaddoll monster, or sometimes you just have like 2 Shaddoll monsters in a fusion, but you don't want to just go like straight into Winda. So literally just by playing this, you could just normal summon something like Squamata, anything. Literally any of the spellcaster ones. Not Wendy, not Ariel, but 3 Squamata, the Hedgehog, the Dragon, or the Falco, or even the Riliona, although Riliona's already a light, so you don't really need that. But literally any of them. You can just like go right into her just to put the extra light on board. There's just weird scenarios where it comes up, and it's not even just hard drawing those, because you could also just like use Wendy, like dump Wendy, and then Wendy special summon one of them to the field, flip it up next turn, and then link it off. So you have other ways to get to it, but it just comes up. It just makes your deck a little more fluid in doing what it wants to do. One, Shaddoll Construct. There's another one, like I said, one of the problems with the deck is if you don't see a fusion, or maybe you see like a Leona but no fusion, and then you get ashed on it, right? So then you might like want access to a card like this, where at some point, if you can just amass enough Shaddoll monsters on board, then you can actually just make her, and she is a walking fusion. So then you could just keep reborning her, then keep using her effect to fuse. You just keep rotating these float effects, and actually she can come up. So she comes up in just those weird kind of brickier situations, but man, when she comes up, she's so good. One copy of Unicorn. This card's just basic removal. I almost wanted to play IP Masquerena, so if I had another slot that I wanted, that I really was like, oh yeah, free slot, awesome, then I'd probably try and play like an IP, because sometimes you just do have monsters on the field, so you could just like summon IP and then be able to even IP into Unicorn at certain points. But I don't know, maybe that's not even the best. Maybe it's just me trying to be cheeky, like, ooh, IP and a TRAP-SHADDOLL deck. It won't really come up that often, but I don't know, if it could, it'd be really cool. But Unicorn, just spot removal, cool card. Then we have the Selene, Queen of the Master Magicians, and Boral Sword Dragon, rounding out the rest of the deck. This could easily be Access Code Talker if you want it to be. That's up to you if you have the money for it, or you think it's better. I don't even necessarily think it's like better, because I think Boral Sword is like generically better at killing your opponent. Access Code's just a little more versatile because it actually clears boards. It's removal instead of just like a damage output card. But still, they're both very good in their own right. I just have this one because the deck, it's a trap deck. So when you're ready to go for game, you try and push into a Boral Sword, you try and extend into a Boral Sword and get the kill there. And then Selene's just awesome because she can reborn any spellcaster. So if you've already made an Apkallone correctly or a Winda correctly, you can just reborn them like on your opponent's turn if you want. And that's like insane. it's actually like so wild. Like Reborn Apkallone, negate a card. Then when Apkallone leaves the field, you're gonna get a search. You're gonna get a search and dump, which is really insane. And then Winda's just gonna be Winda on the field and floodgate your opponent to victory. So yeah, both really good. But that's pretty much it for the Shaddoll deck profile, guys. I really like this deck. Like I said, my history with this deck is kind of funny because I really didn't like this deck for a while, and then at the beginning of 2020, when this deck was like tier 1 and it was cool, it was like people were playing like invoked variants that were kind of bricky because if you didn't see a fusion you lost, or if your opponent negated your one fusion you lost. Now I think the deck's just in a place where like you don't lose if you don't fuse. You just like set some trap cards, you set a monster, and like you can actually just control, slowly get resources, slowly get access to your fusions. Then once you start fusing, you just start popping off, amassing too much advantage, and you just start running away with duels. So really cool deck. I highly recommend checking it out if you haven't yet. The deck's extremely budget. I think the only thing that's not budget is like the 1 or 2 Schism you'd be playing, and like I said, you can play Dynamiscus instead of something like Ice Dragon's Prison in the trap variant, so don't worry too much about that either. And yeah, I highly implore you to try it out. Thank you so much for watching, as always, guys. I'm going to get the hell out of here. Thank you again. Subscribe if you want to see more deck profiles like this one in the future. It feels good to get back into the groove. Like, I've kind of been waiting like 2.5 weeks to like get cards in the mail, so I haven't recorded a deck profile in a minute, but it feels good to get back in the groove, and I definitely got some more coming because I kind of finally got like a whole haul in. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. And then Blazing Vortex right around the corner too. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I love you. Thank you. Peace. Holy crap. I'm a fool.